Our Bible text is Mark 8, verse 31. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. So our Bible text comes from a very important section in the Gospel of Mark. Now there's a fundamental shift that's going to take place. Before chapter 8, Jesus was in Galilee, and he is this powerful man with such authority because he heals and he teaches, and people are just astounded by him. And there's also a question mark of terms of who is this man Jesus, that is able to do all of this. So the identity of Jesus was a question mark. And now we reach a point where the identity of Jesus is revealed. But it's revealed in a way that's shocking, that undermines the average expectations of people at the time of what the Messiah will be and what he will do, etc. So Jesus, with his disciples, he was going to a place called Caesarea Philippi. And that is situated about 38 kilometers north of the Sea of Galilee. It was actually a site of pagan worship, but it's quite symbolic that Jesus goes to this place and where his identity is revealed, because everything in the narrative builds up to this, where his disciples actually come and confess who Jesus is. So Jesus asks them, "Who do men say that I am?" So they answered, "John the Baptist, but some say Elijah, and others one of the prophets." But now, of course, Jesus wants to focus on his disciples. Now, who do you say I am? Because you've been with me, you've seen everything I've done, so what do you say? And now comes Peter's confession. Peter answered and said to him, "You are the Christ." In other words, you are the Messiah. But then Jesus does something strange also. He says, then he strictly warned them that they should tell no one about him. And now we come to our Bible text. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. So if we look at our overall textual unit, that is where Jesus is identified, we can say, as the suffering Messiah. That's from chapter 8, verses 27 to chapter 9, verses 1. Like I said, it's a pivotal place in the gospel where things change because the nature of Jesus' messiahship is being revealed. But look out for the following 3 things when you read that textual unit. Firstly, it's, as our Bible text says, it's Jesus, his true identity as the Messiah. He's the servant Messiah. We can also say the suffering Messiah. He's the suffering Son of God. Because the Messiah was expected to be conquering the enemies and to be victorious. Now, shock and horror, Jesus says, no, I'm going to suffer and die. The second thing to look out for is a theme that's known throughout, or for scholars, as the messianic secret. That's a repeated theme that we find in the Gospel of Mark. People don't know who Jesus is, even his disciples before this textual unit. The demons know who Jesus is, but when Jesus exorcises them, he tells them, keep quiet. And God also knows who Jesus is. But when Jesus also heals people, he tells them, tell nobody. Right? Don't tell people I've healed you. So that's a repeated thing throughout the gospel. The identity of Jesus as the Messiah, it's kept a secret to a degree. Even after Peter confessed Jesus, you are the Christ, in other words, you are the Messiah, Jesus tells him, then he strictly warned them that they should tell no one about him. So that also fits in with this theme called the messianic secret. Third thing we must look out for when reading this passage. is that the failures of Jesus' disciples. Over and over again in Gospel of Mark, Jesus' disciples fail him. They misunderstand Jesus. They don't get him, his mission, etc. And of course, the image of the disciples is rescued, like in the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke. They are more competent. But in Mark, it's just the brutal truth. They're not that bright. They're with Jesus. They really don't understand Jesus. Time after time, they fail to understand Jesus, his message, and what he's about. They even betray him at the end before he's crucified because they all run away. And that will also come to the fore if we go ahead, if we read the verses that come after this. Because also importantly, this incident is mirrored on two more occasions. Also, if we go to chapter 9 and 10. So if we look at an overall scheme of Mark's gospel, yeah, it's the time when the suffering Messiah is revealed. That is where Peter confesses, "You are the Christ." And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer, be killed, etc. So before this time, it's up to chapter 8, verses 26. It's the messianic secret. Who can this be? Who is this Jesus? But after this, it's now revealed who Jesus is. He is the servant Messiah. You can also say the suffering Messiah. He's that servant figure. We can go read about that servant figure in Isaiah 53. So do yourselves a favor and go read Isaiah 53, where the suffering servant, or that song, is spoken about by the prophet of that time. So there's the suffering Messiah that's now finally revealed who this Jesus is. And now what also is happening here is there are these three cycles that happens. The discipleship and servant leadership, three cycles of events. Because on three occasions, Jesus predicts his death, like he does here in our Bible text. And also on three occasions, the disciples respond with pride and misunderstanding. And then also on three occasions, then Jesus must teach them about true servant leadership and true discipleship. Now let's just look at our first textual unit, because now Jesus tells them, be quiet. But now Peter misunderstands, right? If we go to verse 32, he spoke this word openly, then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But when he had turned around and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, "Get behind me, Satan, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but of the things of men." And now Jesus also describes to his disciples and also to the crowd that was around him, this is what it means to be my disciple. Because you must understand what my messiahship means. I'm not here to be a conquering hero. I'm here to suffer and die. He tells the people there, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. That's a dramatic image. I mean, if you must pick up your cross, it means you're going to a place of execution. It's a state of humiliation, of rejection, of suffering. That's what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Also, the suffering of Jesus, in a way, will become your suffering if you are his follower. So Jesus is explaining to them how to be his disciple. And he also explains, for whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel will save it. So it's full of irony. You will lose your life but gain it. And if you want to preserve your life by denying Jesus, then you will lose your life. In other words, eternal life, life with God, life in the kingdom. So this incident is mirrored on two more occasions. Let's look at that graph again. On three occasions, Jesus predicts his death. Then on three occasions, the disciples respond with pride and misunderstanding. Then on three occasions, Jesus must teach them about servant leadership and true discipleship. So if you look at the next graph, so there There's a first prediction of Jesus' death. That's in chapter 8, verse 31. The second one is in chapter 9, verse 31 onwards. And there's a third prediction of Jesus, also in chapter 10, verse 32. Very similar to our present Bible text. And then the next block describes how the disciples respond with pride and misunderstanding. In our first example is where Peter rebukes Jesus because he says, "How can you say this? You're the Messiah. You're supposed to be glorious, etc., not die." The second example is where the disciples argued who is the greatest. Imagine that. Now, for a second time, Jesus said, "I'm going to suffer, I'm going to die." And then the disciples had an argument who of them will be the greatest. Again, on their part, a complete misunderstanding of Jesus and his identity as Messiah and what he's about. And there's a third occasion, later in chapter 10, where those two sons of Zebedee came to Jesus and they wanted the chief seats in the kingdom. No, because they want to sit on his left and his right. Imagine that again. Jesus told them, "I'm going to die, I'm going to suffer." Then two disciples come to him and tell him, "Lord, we want to sit on your left and your right." No, they want to be big shots with Jesus. But Jesus just explained to them, "I'm going to die, I'm going to suffer." Again, complete misunderstanding on their part. So, if we go to the next block, then Jesus must, on each occasion, Jesus teaches them about servant leadership and true discipleship. So, in chapter 8, it's about take up your cross. Like Jesus will suffer, you're going to suffer. Then Jesus, in chapter 9, true discipleship is about the first shall be last. Right? Don't try to be the most important. Of course, in chapter 10, it's about servant leadership, where Jesus explains to them, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. So Jesus teaches them, if you want to be my disciple, pick up your cross. Don't want to be the biggest and most important, and be true servant leaders. Serve the people. Don't want position and places of eminence. So, very interestingly, recognize the cycle of three events that happens in chapter 8, 9, and 10. So it's discipleship and servants leadership, where Jesus, every time he predicts his death, his disciples respond with pride and misunderstanding. Then where Jesus must teach them about servant leadership and true discipleship. Also, when you read this present pericope, it is from chapter 8, verses 27 to 9, verses 1. It's look out for these things. It's about Jesus being the servant Messiah. He will be the suffering Son of God. It's a big shock because here it's revealed that Jesus is the Messiah, but also that he will be a different kind of Messiah. Secondly, also look out for that messianic secret theme that comes through. Because maybe Jesus doesn't want word to get out and people will misunderstand what kind of Messiah he is. That's probably the main reason for this theme of the messianic secret. Then lastly, the failures of Jesus' disciples. Also, how it comes through here time after time. In chapter 8, Peter rebukes Jesus. Also, where they argued who will be who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and then the one who wants to sit on his left and his right, how they misunderstand Jesus. They failed him. They don't understand his mission. And every time Jesus uses this, where he predicts his death, that he's going to die for them, he must explain to them, this is what it means to be my disciple. It's about servant leadership. It's about also embracing a life of suffering, just like the Lord suffers on our behalf. So overall, take note here in chapter 8. There's a pivotal change that's happening. Before, Jesus' identity was kind of unknown. Now it's revealed. He's the Messiah. It's the first time in the gospel where someone publicly professes Jesus, you the Messiah, you the Christ. But also the true nature of Jesus' discipleship is revealed, that he will suffer and die. Here, Jesus, for the first time, predicts his death. So it's a shock that he will be a suffering Messiah. But along with a proper understanding of who Jesus is, is also having a proper understanding of how to be his disciple. So the proper understanding of Jesus goes hand in hand with what it means to be a disciple of him.